That's right. Girls and Geese is back at it with a second episode of our powerful podcast, and we couldn't be more excited. This episode's guests include world champion and co-founder of Submit the Stigma, Erin Herle, multiple-time Pan-American champion and founder of Inspire, Kristina Barlaan, and multiple-time Master World Champion, Nikki Sullivan of the Atos team. And we can't forget our hosts, Girls and Geese Program Director, Sara Mcmann, and Girls and Geese Colorado Lead Ambassador, Sharika Long O'Neill.
Hey, Sharika, we are back for our second edition of the Girls and Geese podcast. Can you believe it? We've lasted a second round.
We've not killed each other yet. It's great.
Not killed each other yet. Hey, it's only been 2 episodes. We got time.
Plenty of time.
So we're super excited. We got some really incredible guests on today. We have Nikki. Nikki, how are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Awesome. We got Nikki Sullivan, and then we got Erin Herle here. How you doing, Erin?
I'm as good as I can be.
And Kristina Barlaan. How's it going on the East Coast, Kristina?
Oh, it's going good over here. Like, I'm holed up in a gym, so I guess I have a good, I guess I should have used an actual locker room since I should have used an actual locker room. It's going good over here, other than the temperamental weather.
Where are you guys all at? Are you guys not all in California? Nikki, you're in California.
I'm in California. I'm in San Diego.
Erin?
LA.
Okay.
And I'm currently in the Baltimore area. I'm typically from the San Francisco area, but currently I'm doing shelter in place with my boyfriend in the Baltimore area.
Nice.
Awesome. So you may be wondering about this towel on my head. I didn't just step out of the shower. We are actually here for a Girls and Geese locker room talk episode. We are going to talk about all things that happen in the locker room. And no, boys, it's not what you think. We wanted to talk about some real issues, deep conversations that we have with our teammates and our friends. I know that all of you have trained at places that do have locker rooms, so I thought it would be a really cool opportunity for us to discuss some hard-hitting topics as well as get some warm fuzzies and some advice from you girls as well. So with that being said, I wanted to ask you guys, what is the most heartfelt or memorable conversation that you've ever had with somebody in the locker room? Erin, if you want to go ahead and lead us in.
So this was like a really hard thing for me to answer because it all kind of blurs into one, because I had, I would say 2 major locker rooms that I was in, which is Cobrinas and Marcelo Garcia's. And I spent all day at those gyms. So it was like the locker room was like my safety, but also was my office. So a lot of the times I would use, when I was working for Grace Mag, I would use my laptop in the locker rooms. At Marcelo's, it was the same. So I would tuck myself in between the water heater and the lockers next to the trash can, so I could plug in my laptop and like answer phone calls. So some white belt would come in for the intro or something, and I'd be like, yeah, hold on. That was the key of like the locker room. He was either that, like doing work, or like crying a lot. And I cried a lot in various locker rooms. But I would say like a really memorable moment was with Sara Mcmann. So she happened to be at Marcelo's because she was technically a student, although she didn't always train there because she was in Greenville, South Carolina. But she, trained under Alliance Rafael Rosendo. So she was training with us every time she could. And she has actually a master's in mental health counseling. And I had just not received my brown belt because when I went over to Cobrinas, I was already like 3 years into my purple belt, and I'd won stuff, this and that. And so I thought that it was going to continue because I'd visited Marcelo so long. But eventually it was like, okay, well, it's too soon to be promoted. So when I didn't get my brown belt, I was like kind of being a little brat about it, and I was upset because I thought that I deserved it. And really it was like, it was going to be disrespectful to Cobrina for him because I'd only been there for 6 months. So she gave me this conversation, and she has this really awesome way of relating to you, but also being like, hey man, this is the time to be tough. It's not always going to go your way. You are amazing no matter what. And you're going to get it sooner or later. It's not like he's pinning anything against you. He doesn't have anything against you. So he's not giving it to you. But I think it was memorable because we don't like to speak about promotions ever, because it's not right. It's just like you should never be in control of your own promotions, let alone should you be sitting there like asking for it. Although I actually asked for my black belt, so that was kind of weird. But when I had this conversation with her, I realized that like just because I didn't have the power to, or like things weren't happening as I wanted them to, that everything was going to be okay. And so that for me was like a huge moment. Otherwise it was all like sad moments of like having anxiety attacks in locker rooms and whatnot, and having like Cobrina's wife chase me down and be like, what is it this time? But yeah, that's probably the biggest moment that I could think of now.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Erin. So Kristina, do you have any kind of story that you'd like to share with us? Something that memorable that happened in a locker room?
There's definitely a lot of memorable stuff that happens in the locker room. I mean, I feel like that's the time that I've had the most female bonding, So like I've always felt like, and I feel like a lot of the ladies here can probably attest to that, or maybe had similar experiences where growing up, we just thought what the majority of all the other girls were doing, right? Like either my interests were different, my behavior was different, my attitude was different, my views were different. And I just like felt like anytime I was ever in like a bathroom or locker room setting with other females, I always felt so like different, like isolated. It was weird. So, like, with the ballet and in school. And it wasn't until like martial arts, right, I started finding that I can actually bond with other women and not feel so weird. And it was cool when you start having these realizations that like, wow, I actually do girl talk, and our girl talk wasn't, just about like clothes and like makeup and stuff like that, which is, what was common when I was growing up. We were talking about sports. We were talking about like, oh, did you check out that combination? Like, man, I really felt that combo I did, right? This is when I was doing like Muay Thai, right? Like, yeah. I was like, oh yeah, that push kick you landed, that felt really, really solid. Or maybe if you put your hips a little bit more, I think it would land a little bit harder. So it was like my first time feeling like I could relate with other women, and not feel like I was on my own isolated little island. Growing up with dance and music and stuff like that, oftentimes I got picked on because I excelled. A lot of things came very easy to me. And so it was kind of like, well, Kristina's too good. She needs to stay over there, and we're going to make our own group over here. And it's like, man, I kind of want to share, like we're all doing this activity together. Why can't I be part of the group with you guys? Talk about the things that we learned and how fun it was. And, first Muay Thai and then Jiu-Jitsu came around, like then I could actually start talking about like, wow, that technique that we did today was super fun. Like, oh, did you have trouble with this? And it was the first time I felt like people could come to me for help, and I didn't feel like it was wrong to be good at something, And then in an equal time, it was also the first time where I felt like it was okay for me to have like those breakdowns. Like I remember one Muay Thai sparring session in particular. I wasn't even doing jiu-jitsu yet, really. I think I wasn't even doing it full time. I think I was just only doing like jiu-jitsu every now and then. And it was a really hard sparring session with someone who, she didn't necessarily do anything to me, but I had a bunch of other stuff going on in my life. And I literally fell apart, right? I had a panic attack. I'm in the locker room and I'm crying by myself. And I'm thinking like, well, here I am in a room crying by myself again, like, so typical. And that was the first time that another girl came up and like, hey, it's okay to have these tough days. It's okay that you got beat up by someone who was more experienced than you. It's okay, it's okay to cry. And I was like, this is okay. Like, I was so used to, being reprimanded for crying, like, oh, just suck it up. You're being a baby. You're just complaining. You're tougher. Like, hey, it's okay to have bad days. It's okay that like, she's way more experienced than you. She's been doing this a long time, and yeah, you're going to get beat up, but you're going to be okay. And it wasn't even that like she beat me up. Again, there was the locker room breakthrough moment. Like, wow, I can actually bond with other women, and I don't have having bad days. And, so those always like stick out.
What about you, Nikki? Do you have any memorable moments that happened with you in the locker room? Anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I was having a really hard time thinking about anything at first, and then I just started talking to somebody about like, I don't think I have any memorable moments in the locker room. Then I started coming up with stuff. But the one that really stuck out to me was like before Worlds last year. And so I'm a crier too. Like, I don't know about all of you guys, but I definitely, when I'm pushing myself really hard, and especially if I'm getting ready for a big tournament, and I'm just exhausted, like I cry, and that's kind of the way my body just deals with the frustration and all those feelings. And I'm really hard on myself. I put a lot of pressure on myself. So usually at some point in a camp, I will have a breakdown at least once. And a lot of times I can make it until I get to my car, until I get home. But sometimes it just happens on the mats, and it's really embarrassing. And I've just kind of accepted it at this point that it's part of it. And everybody who knows me like kind of knows at this point, oh, Nikki's just doing her thing. But there was one day where it was like a Friday night, and I'd already trained that day. I trained all week, so I was really tired, and I probably shouldn't have gone to the night training, but I did, and I ended up crying. So I ran to the bathroom to cry, and I remember Louisa coming in to like give me a little pep talk in the locker room. And I know a lot of you know Louisa, and she's just amazing, and I really appreciate her. But she just came in and she started talking to me about, like, she's been a black belt for a long time. She's been a black belt longer than I've been training. And I love just how like she has all that experience and perspective. And she was telling me stories about like all the worlds she went to and lost, and all the times that she made it to the finals and lost. And she was talking about like before she won the first time, how she just kind of been getting like beaten up in the gym, getting subbed by lower belts, like feeling super frustrated. And she said she just went into the worlds thinking, you know, probably not going to win, like just like all the other times, but she kind of just let herself have fun and enjoy it. And that was the first year that she won her black belt world title. And it was just really cool to have her say that to me, and to have her kind of tell me, you know, it's okay. She's not telling me not to cry. She's like saying, I understand how you feel. And she's saying, I think you can do it. And even if you don't do it this year, like even if you lose this year, you can do it. And that made me just, I don't know, it was wonderful. I went into that tournament, like Angelica gave me a little pep talk at some point too. And I remember going into that tournament because it was my first Worlds as a black belt last year. And I don't know why I was putting so much pressure on myself, but I was like worried I was going to go out and just make a fool out of myself, and people would be like, why did they give her black belt? But man, I went out and just felt no pressure, and I had a lot of fun, and I had a really great performance. And yeah, so I just really appreciated that little pep talk when I needed it, for sure.
I understand that. I've definitely had many of those. I'm not as fortunate as you to train with somebody like Louisa. You definitely have a very strong women's support within your team.
Man, it means so much to have like other women around, and women who train and compete at a high level, because they understand. And I know guys who train too, like they do cry, but man, the girls really understand. They're like, we get it. It's okay. So that's nice.
No, absolutely. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your stories. You know, I can definitely relate, and I'm sure that a lot of you guys at home watching this can relate as well, because most of my locker room stories include a lot of crying and frustration and a little bit of a breakdown. But with keeping in that in the topic of you know, mental health, I know, Erin, this is a topic that's near and dear to your heart. You've dedicated a huge portion of your life and your efforts to helping bring a voice to people in jiu-jitsu that do have mental health issues, and giving them an opportunity to feel comfortable in sharing that. What are some of, and I know you guys shared a little bit as well as some of the struggles that you have personally, but in combating mental health and for yourself, what are some of the benefits that you've seen jiu-jitsu have in helping you through your own journey?
I think that with mental health and jiu-jitsu, like they're kind of going hand in hand. Now, I would never say, yes, jiu-jitsu is therapy. Jiu-jitsu replaces therapy or professional help, right? But for me, it was the road to that. So I never sought out mental health, like professional help, until I started jiu-jitsu. because jiu-jitsu gives you that feeling that you have control, right? And so even though you're rolling and you're getting kind of beat up and you don't even know how you're getting armbarred, you're like, I thought my arm was attached to my body, things like that. You're getting caught and stuff, and you don't even know where your weight is, and like you're in half guard and the legs are wide open, but you have no idea because you have no self-awareness. Like, so all those things are just like navigating anything else, right? You have to learn to suck at something. And when I started, I was 20, I was 19 turning 20. And so I thought I knew some stuff, but I kind of knew that I didn't know a lot. But it was the first thing I did for me that my mom didn't put me into. Like, I was never into sports at all. I was a Girl Scout for 15 years. So that's pretty much all I did. So for me, it was, wow, this is like my thing. Like, everything I'm doing here has been completely my choice, everything. So that kind of helped me kickstart, like, I am in control of my life. So when I sought out therapy, I realized, okay, well, the things that they're telling me to do, which is, like physical activity, having a social support system, having goals, right? All of those things I already found in jiu-jitsu. And what I like to tell people all the time, which usually I do it at seminars after I teach, and I'll tell people, like, all right, so if you're a good student, you're consistent, right? We see each other all the time. Like, if Kristina or Nikki were my training partners, and I know that they train a lot because we all, train that for our lives, I'd see them every day. So if I saw that they were not acting how they normally act, or if they were, for example, not really like laughing so much, right? Like, Kristina is one of my best friends. So I know that if she's down, like, I can just feel it. I already know right off the bat. So if that was happening, I could say, hey, is everything okay? And then, it's not so much getting people to give information to you, just like with Louisa and Nikki, like, I remember Louisa, when she trained at Marcelo's, she used to tell me, when I was a purple belt, Erin, I was so fat and I sucked at jiu-jitsu. And I was a purple belt at the time. So I was like, oh, all right, cool. So we can get places, even though we start at a place where we think that we're nothing. And she's had a lot of hardships. And I think that she hasn't had the opportunity to kind of come out and talk about it. She doesn't have the same platform as I do, because I have my nonprofit, Submit the Stigma, but it's those locker room talks where she really, really helps people. And I know there's been like random wipeouts. There's a girl, Nicole, who trains at, in the check mat in New York under Fabio Clemente. And she was a white belt, and we happened to just be changing in the locker room because I was helping teach a class. And she's like, oh, I'm so frustrated. And I was like, yeah, dude, I know that feeling. Like, it's okay. So it's kind of like when something embarrassing happens, because we sometimes think crying in public is embarrassing. You have the opportunity to like have another person be like, yeah, I do that too. Like, this is a normal transgression of jiu-jitsu, because it's hard. We are constantly testing ourselves, and we're going against guys, and we're already like behind in terms of like our physical strength and whatnot. And it's not until later on that you really find what your strengths are. Like, oh, being super flexible can help me get out of weird stuff. Like, and all three of us, I know, are super flexible. And half the time people watch us train or to compete in matches, and they're just like, where did that foot come from? So it's really figuring out yourself. And I think mental health kind of has that trajectory. It's not like oh, I went and got help, I started taking these pills, I'm all better now. It's such a journey. And so is jiu-jitsu, right? And it's not really about the belt or the end goal or anything like black belt or whatever. Like, it's just a matter of like finding yourself. So I think mental health and jiu-jitsu, my journeys were pretty much the same. So when I was able to find myself in terms of like letting everything out, kind of letting it out, and, being that girl that cries a lot, or being that girl that gets pissy when she gets her guard pass, like, that's fine. You go through those things. And I think that people who are the strongest are the ones that show those things, instead of just, like, who do we admire more? The person that is, like, never gets tired, or the person who gets tired but continues to push, like, what's more admiring. So for me, it was just kind of like letting things show and talking about it. And the locker room is where that happens. The locker room is kind of like, it's literally just like, whether you're a white belt or a world champion black belt, like, there is something to share in that. And there's always advice, or even just me too. Like, that's a huge, huge moment for me.
I totally laughed when you said that we're all freakishly flexible, and you're like, where'd that foot come from? Like, yeah, that it us. Man. Yeah, I'm so thankful for you, Erin, like starting the whole submit the stigma thing. I remember when you came up with me like, hey, I have this idea and I'm thinking seminar, what do you think? And I'm like, yeah, sign me the heck up. See, I almost used F-bomb, but see, I'm being good. Yeah, sign me the heck up. And like, and I think that's like part of it, you know, like you meet these people who you obviously connect with, right? Like, remember the first time that we competed against each other, we're like, I always remember that you were someone I always wanted to talk to. Like, I feel like I could be friends with this person, and like I just didn't know how to talk to you. And then, like, and I was like, I was still purple, you were still blue belt. I remember, I think the first time I tried talking to you was at Vegas, and like, and I don't know, I don't know why. I just felt like I want to talk with this person and I want to be friends with her, but I don't know how. And it wasn't until we fought each other that happened. And I'm like, wow, we're like really alike. So like my Kristina senses are really good at the beginning, or right from the start. And like, and just that community that you have created, it just kind of like opened my eyes about being transparent about my own mental health issues, because, you know, I mean, for a very long time it felt like you had to shoulder it all by yourself, right? Like oh, I'm so weird. I like the shame and the guilt of having mental illness, and the shame that comes talking about it and having people look at you like, oh, you shouldn't be that way, you know, you should be positive and be happy and just be smiling and just look at the bright side. And jiu-jitsu was like the first community where it's just like, yeah, you're gonna fall apart and that's cool, right? And then finding more individuals who are like-minded, and not just saying like it's cool that you fall apart. It was like, it's also cool, like, hey, you know, this is a day that you have to just go through a routine and you have to just get through your day, and you put that mask on for a little bit, but then you realize you put the mask on for a little bit and it actually made you feel a bit better, because otherwise you wouldn't have been able to get through your day. And then you realize, oh, my day was actually a lot better than what I thought it was going to be, because depression is telling me that my life is all like terrible and everything is not so nice. I'm so bad with these expletives. And then it's like, all right, well, you know, if I could get through that one drill in jiu-jitsu, maybe I can get through brushing my teeth today. You know, if I was able to get out of that one submission, maybe I can actually put on clean clothes, you know, or if I could just get to the gym, I think I'll feel a little better. And, you know, I've struggled privately with my own panic attacks, in particular, because it's like, again, the shame, guilt, you want to hide, you don't want anyone to see you, other than being like, oh, Kristina, the black belt, she's so strong, she's so awesome, you know, she wins all these tournaments. And it's like, man, I'm like, the imposter syndrome comes in, right? You're like, man, I'm a scared little girl inside, you know, I'm so fragile, but, you know, jiu-jitsu makes me feel strong. And then we feel like we have to keep that up, and then really you don't, because you're actually surrounded by students and friends and teammates who are actually love you for that vulnerability, right? They love you for your strength and they love you for your vulnerability. I remember my first time having a panic attack at the gym in front of strangers. I won't say strangers, but, you know, in front of people who hadn't seen me have a panic attack before. It was right before I was supposed to teach class. And immediately it's like, oh my God, even more panic, because, you know, I'm exposed, right? There's people who are seeing me who have never seen me have a panic attack, or who had never even known that I suffered from anxiety and depression, and that I suffered from panic attacks. Like, they just had no idea. And that was the first time seeing me fall apart. And then I'm interested in my head, like, oh my God, I'm exposed. They see me who I am now. And right away, I just had so much support. You know, I had, you know, one student who was just kind of holding me, putting their chest on my back, trying to get me to calm my breathing down. I had another student who's just holding my hand, making sure that, like, because like I ball up when I have my panic attacks, and they just kept like squeezing just so that I could try to get like blood circulation. Had like another who was just, you know, trying to calm me down, but not by like yelling at me or like, hey, what's wrong? You know, like, because like the worst thing is when you're having a panic attack and other people are panicking too, because they don't know what to do. And surprisingly, like one of them was just like, hey, yeah, I was like, I've been there. I know these panic attacks, like, they're really hard. I've had them before. And same thing, I was just like, man, I would have never thought that you had panic attacks. You know, it's like, it was like one of the younger, because he actually just turned 18 last month, late. And I was like, dude, you're a kid. Like, and in my head, I'm thinking, like, what's a kid doing having panic attacks? I'm like, duh, I was a kid when I was having panic attacks. So of course you could have panic attacks. Anyone can have panic attacks. you know. And that was the first time that I kind of was able to like see, like really see that, man, other people go through this too, and we all go through it in different ways, and I'm not the only one that feels this kind of pain. Like I can trust my teammates, like they, the same way that they can trust me when I'm teaching class, or my students trust me when I'm teaching class. Like I can trust them in return, that they don't have me in this pedestal where I'm untouchable. You know, they acknowledge my humanness, and jiu-jitsu has given me that, right? That community, and that it's okay to be human, right? Anybody can get submitted, anyone can become sick, and anyone can struggle with these hardships. But just because anyone can do it doesn't mean that you have to diminish what you're going through, right? Like everyone's experience is different, and it's okay to share that. It's okay to show it. And yeah, it really wasn't until like Erin really started becoming like vocal about like, hey, let's submit the stigma, like let's really go out there and really show that like you don't have to be ashamed, that vulnerability can be a strength. I'm like, yeah, man, I really do need to embrace that a lot more, you know, not just talk the talk, but like walk the walk. Not that I wasn't doing it before, but I think it took for one, you know, for Erin, like for one person to like really just take the lead on it and be like, hey, yeah, like I need to take responsibility too, you know. And I'm glad that the jiu-jitsu community has been has been supportive of that. Like everyone's been resounding with it, and has been a big reason as to why I can be healthy, right? Like I still have sickness, but I can have healthy days, or I can have healthy relationships, because I know that I'm in a community that is supportive.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Nikki, did you have anything you wanted to add into that?
I thought about a bunch of things, and I'm having trouble remembering some of them now. My brain is like all over the place. It's in quarantine mode, and it's like squirrel. I think the biggest thing that stood out to me is something that Erin talked about a lot, is just the fact that sometimes all you need is somebody to tell you it's okay, and that they deal with that too, and to have them kind of legitimize your feelings. Because I think there's this thing where sometimes you're like having a problem, like you're crying or you're feeling depressed or whatever, and a lot of people want to try to fix your problem, or like give you advice about how you can take care of it, and sometimes that just isn't helpful. And I actually was talking to a really good girlfriend of mine, and she said that they had a guy friend that they had trained to where if they wanted to talk to him about a problem, he would first ask, okay, is this a problem you want me to help you solve, or do you just want me to listen? And I thought that was so amazing, because like sometimes it's very true, like you don't want them to fix it, you just want them to listen, and just to say, hey, it's okay to feel that way right now, like I'll help you with it if you want, but like if you also just want to cry right now and feel sad, that's okay too. And I think for a long time I really felt this need to be tough, and I think part of that comes from, I was, like a lot of us, were the only girl for a long time training, so surrounded by guys, so I felt the need to like be even tougher, to prove that I belonged, and to prove that I, you know, could earn respect, or whatever I felt. I don't know, I think I put the pressure on myself. But so it was nice to like finally kind of build relationships and have people who like I felt I could be vulnerable with, and who would let me know, hey, it's okay to like, we're weak too, like we have bad days and good days. And I remember like always getting super frustrated when I would have problems in jiu-jitsu, and a lot of it was related to being weaker, for sure. Like I'm trying to do these techniques that I've learned and they're just not working. And I remember getting so frustrated when I would like express that, and the coaches would be like, well, you just need to like try it harder, or, you know, something like that. And I remember a coach that I love just said to me one time, he's like, yeah, it's just, sometimes it's hard. And that, like, I still think about that now when I teach too. Like, it was so helpful for me to just have somebody say, it's gonna be hard sometimes, and you can do it, but like, it's just gonna be hard. And it like made it okay that it was hard, you know, because it was hard for him too, and he was like way more experienced than me. I was like, okay, if it's hard for you, then it can be hard for me, and we'll make it through this.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to what you guys are saying, for sure. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've had guys be like, so what are you girls talking about in the locker room? Are you talking about all the hot guys? Like, who are the hot jiu-jitsu guys? And I'm like, really? But
I'm more like, what bra are you using? How do you tie your hair up? How are you keeping it together? I need help. Help me.
yeah, I thought that was the funniest thing when they told me that. I'm like, that's why I was so excited to do this episode, because I wanted to bring truth to what we're really talking about. We're talking about real issues that are relevant to not only our lives, but that impact everybody else's. And I know that you ladies have, I know that you guys have a boyfriend right now, and I know that you guys have been single and been in the limelight. And I know that, sometimes dating is hard. Dating is hard whether or not you're in the limelight or not. But I wanted to see from your perspectives, one, do you think there's a double standard in dating for women in jiu-jitsu? Do you think there's any kind of double standard there? And do you think there's a challenge for you? The higher up you go, the more recognition you get. Is it harder to meet guys that really value you for you, as opposed to the image that you have put out in jiu-jitsu?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so yeah, like for sure, definitely lots of double standards. Like if we're talking about locker room talk for guys and locker room talk for girls, or for the ladies, a lot of times God. So like women get like a bad rap that all we want to do is gossip, but like, oh my God, dude, jiu-jitsu guys love to gossip. They love to gossip. Like, oh my, like, and I swear to God, it's like, wow, like y'all want to try to accuse us of being gossipers when y'all over there in your own little world talking about like conspiracies within like the jiu-jitsu community. It's just gossip, 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 gossip. Like, yo, like chill, right? And like, I feel like it's kind of like everything that we do, I feel like, is under scrutiny, right? Like if we decided that we wanted, like, we're single and we decide that we want to hook up with whoever, and like we're safe, it's consensual, we're adults, right? Like that should be fine, right? But like the moment it's like someone else finds out about it, it's like they feel like the guys feel like they feel entitled to talk about it with other people, like, oh yeah, I hooked up with her, or whatever. And it's just like, dude, like, what the heck, like what, like when guys do it, like when they can hook up whatever, and it doesn't matter in what way that they do it, like no one really talks about it. Like at least like they don't talk it in a way where they're shaming each other. They're just like, oh yeah, that's cool, yeah, like, oh, you were that girl, it's so like, it's so otherworldly. I can't wrap my head around it, because I've never been one, like, dude, whatever you want to do in your private life is whatever you do in your private life, for as long as you're not hurting anybody and you're being safe and you're being clean, like do whatever, right? It's not my business who you've been with, or who you haven't been with, or who you think I've been with, like people, like it's so easy for, I feel like, for women to just be looked at a certain way just because they carry themselves a certain way, right? Like I'm super friendly, I'm outspoken, I'm open, and like I'm not really too shy about a lot of things, right? Like I'm down to talk about a lot of things. And even with just that, it's like right away the gossip's like, oh well, she's probably sleeping with all these people, like, oh, I saw her talking to that guy, then I saw her talking to that guy, and then she's talking to that guy, right? But the same thing would never be done for a guy. Like a guy could talk to a bunch of different girls and no one would be like, oh yeah, he's probably sleeping with her and sleeping with her and sleeping with her. So like, dude, no, he's just talking, right? And it can't ever be the same. And I'm gonna say, for the longest time, the reason why I was single for a while was like, man, like I don't want to date anyone in the jiu-jitsu scene, because I don't want my personal life out there. I don't want whoever I was with to start talking about it with somebody else, and they're gonna start talking about somebody else, and they're gonna start talking about it with somebody else. And it's like someone who I don't even know has already all these assumptions about me. And it's like, if I were a dude, that would never happen, or at least it wouldn't spread in that same way, right? So it's kind of like, wow, I guess I'm just going to have to be single because I don't want my personal business out there. And it's so hard for me to date outside of jiu-jitsu, which I did try. I really did try. And it was just kind of like, this ain't it, you know? Like I met some really cool people, really, really awesome people, but this is not it, because there's like that bond or that the understanding of the intensity of what it is that we do, or having that passion for what it is that we do, especially as a high level competitor. Like someone who doesn't understand what that requires, it's hard for them to relate, you know? And so I really was like, man, I really don't want to date anyone in jiu-jitsu, like, because, you know, just that fear, like I could just talk to somebody and someone could already assume that I was sleeping with them, even though we were just talking, like a friend, like about whatever, you know? But then, you know, like I met my boyfriend now, and he like really got me to believe. And, you know, there was like, again, that in the back of my head, like, oh, what are people going to say because he's a blue belt, you know, and you're a black belt? I'm like, dude, black belts date white belt, you know, black belt dudes date white belt girls all the time, right? They date lower belt, you know, lower belts all the time. Why would it be any different for, you know, for me? Like, you know, again, I'm not dating someone for their belt. I'm dating them because of because of how they are as a person. They just happen to do jiu-jitsu. But like, I don't think guys give us enough credit. I mean, it's really hard to date, I feel like, as a female in jiu-jitsu. It really is, just because we are held to, like, again, like these crazy standards and crazy expectations, and we're under so much scrutiny. Like, again, we do one thing and then everyone's talking about it, you know? And but I feel like now I feel like it's okay. Like I don't have to have that much in my head. I'm like, you know what, screw it. You know, I'm not doing anything that I'm going to be ashamed of. I'm in a healthy relationship. But like it took a while to get to that point, you know, because before then it's just like, yeah, there are a lot of creeps out there. There are a lot of people who like they just want you for your status. Like I was in a bad relationship like that. Like my ex-boyfriend liked to brag that, you know, his girlfriend was a black belt, and he would get free stuff, you know. He's like, oh, my girlfriend is this person, you know, and they were like, oh, let me give you free stuff and that you could pass to her, but really it was for him, it wasn't for me, you know. And so yeah, it's hard to not feel like you have to be like, you know, like have a big like wall up, or, you know, armor up and put yourself out there, because it just feels like everyone's, you know, there's a bunch of wolves out there, and and like, and you're just trying to live. Can I live?
Dude, Kristina, do you remember when I sent you this message? So I got this message that said, hey, you and Kristina are both dating blue belts. Like, is that like a thing that you guys do now? And that was like interesting, because it's my first time dating a blue belt. And I really like it. But the biggest thing was, okay, I was always very like public. I kind of think it's part of my mental illness that I just have to say TMI all the time. So for me, like, yeah, I am more like a dude. So if I slept with someone in the jiu-jitsu scene, I would go to Kristina and be like, oh, yeah, I got that guy. And I've literally been like high fives from my dude friends, you know, like, hell yeah, you got that. And that's always been my thing. But, you know, then you risk having a reputation that I'm not in control. So what I hate is that whenever a female in the jiu-jitsu scene makes a decision to sleep with someone else in the jiu-jitsu scene, it's suddenly like they're just doing it for other reasons. Or, oh, look, she's trying to date him, but she can't because he hooks up with everybody. Or, oh, look, she's making a fool of herself because, you know, he sleeps with other people. Or, oh my gosh, she slept with, you know, 3 people from that team or whatever. Like, people take count. A long time ago, it was like 2010, I think, you know, on the forums, even though I was dating someone, it didn't matter. People were still talking about my sex life. People were still concerned with who I was sleeping with. And yeah, part of that is my problem, because I'm like, hey, look what I got. Hey, but it's, you know, it gets back to people, and they don't like it. And unfortunately with my TMI, whatever, I may be comfortable speaking about it, but maybe the other person is not. So unfortunately you're involved with other people. I think a lot of the hard part is that we are looked at as we have that scrutiny that Kristina is talking about. And I had a very public relationship as well. So when I was dating Gianni, I was a purple belt and he was a brown belt. So I saw him get his black belt, and then he comes on he's always been that, like that kid, the kid of Henzo's, and then he went to Marcelo's, and then everyone thought that I was the reason he went to Marcelo's. I had not moved to New York yet, but technically I was Alliance and Marcelo's Alliance. So they thought that, okay, when he goes to Alliance, it's because of Erin. And it's all my fault. So, and then, they like to just make things up. Like they said, oh, he left Henzo's on Henzo's birthday. And I remember when Gianni said something like, I didn't even know it was his birthday. I don't even have his phone number to even talk to him. Like, what, should I tweet him? Like, people don't know everything, but because it's a small community, everyone talks. And then there's that lifestyle of being an elite competitor who travels for competitions. Now, a lot of the guys, they're shitheads. I'm going to say that. And they like to treat every place like Vegas. Like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So you just get hit on a lot. It's like, okay, here we are. And you get this kind of feeling that, okay, well, if we get together, we both have things at stake here. It's not that you're a little blue belt who can go and tell all your friends, because you're not going to go tell all your friends, and I'm not going to tell my friends because we have the same friends, kind of, right? And so I think that kind of gets caught up. Also, if you want to think about a man who starts ballet and all the women are all over him and he literally gets to have his pick, and then you get mad at him for sleeping with any of them, like that's really hard. Like as a white belt female, you have no idea how many instructors will say, hey, come train at my gym. Absolutely. You're a high level guy. I'm going to get all the attention. I was able to train in the advanced classes, even though I was a white belt with 2 stripes, simply because they wanted to stare at my butt the whole time. And, at the same time, me being kind of like a dude, like I said, I'm like, cool. I get all the attention. I get to learn jiu-jitsu and I get laid and I get free dinner, things like that. So why am I going to be scrutinized for that? Like, I'm just taking the good part of the deal. And then with Gianni, I had a very public relationship, everything, we were always together. I was the photographer. He was the competitor. I would compete, everything. And then we stayed together for 3.5 years, almost 4 years. And then when we broke up, I can't say what my friends used to call it, but it was like all the guys started hitting on me again because they were like, sick, she's single. So yeah, like being public and being in the public eye is huge because they know your personal business. And I like that because with my Submit the Stigma, like that campaign was huge because I was like, this is what I've experienced. I'm not afraid to talk about it. I'm not afraid to feel. And so when you want to mix up different things like, okay, my mental health or my sex life or my diet or my workout regimen, like to me, they're all the same. And so why shouldn't I? So being a woman is like being able to be proud of everything. And so, yeah, like there were definitely times where maybe I was reckless, and people talk. It's just like when they say that in the Olympics, when they go to the Olympics and they actually hand out condoms, because it's just like everybody is just like, you get it. You just spent 4 years, like working so hard. Now we get to have a release, I get it, that's very similar. But when I met my boyfriend now, he was literally just a fan. He would message me all the time and send me memes. And I was like, okay, not bad. And I literally would call him like my meme guy. And then, started slowly kind of getting to know each other just because I got used to getting his memes like every day. I was like, all right, this crazy dude, Nick in Canada and Niagara Falls. And I'd always wanted to visit. So one of my best friends, Val in Toronto, I was there after my MMA fight last year. And I went there and I visited him and we hung out. And he obviously is like, yeah, my girlfriend now is so cool. She's a black belt, but like, he just admires me. And to be admired is a lot different than just being like, oh my God, she's so cool. Like, because he's from a small town, Niagara Falls in Ontario, a lot of the guys are like, what's it like to have your girlfriend beat you up, And then, what he says in response is hot. It's so hot. And so I think that's the way to go about it. And that's how I know. And you could joke about it, you can laugh about it. And yeah, like he still gets me in submissions and stuff like that. It has nothing to, it just like what's on the mat is entirely different. And then when you were speaking about whether I thought someone was hot, when someone has like a gi on, it's like we're all androgynous. Like maybe you're good looking, but like it does not register. It shuts off. And that's a trait that we've all kind of learned, because like you start out and you're like, cool, clothes guard, I'm a missionary. And then it's like, if you're with a guy, like, yeah, it's literally missionary, and you can have like, who, I'm a pervert. And yeah, I think girls are more perverted than guys, and guys gossip more than girls. So that's kind of like the typical thing that I have found. So when I see a guy on the mat, I never look at him as like good looks. I'm more like, okay, cool. We have our uniform on and we're ready to go. And I think that's why I didn't like doing no-gi so much, because it was like, I have boobs. I got a booty. Before I could hide it, right? That's why I like the gi so much, because like androgynous, we're all the same. You hide your junk, I had mine. And no-gi, it's like, look at me. So yeah, that's why I get rash guards that are way bigger, things like that. So being a female and having your sex life talked about by grown men who are kind of, preying upon white belt females is a joke. So at this stage, being a black belt, being someone who's been through all that and is now in a committed relationship, I'm okay with speaking about it, because I know what people might think about me. Like literally, I had like I remember when the king, was like, hey, I heard you did this, and I was like, yeah. And he was like, whoa, I got nothing. It's kind of like that Hey Arnold episode that I always bring this up, when he's gonna get beat up by Harold, and then he brings out the stereo and he's like, don't hit me, I'll hit me. You can't embarrass me. You can't call me a name, because I'm like, cool, yeah, call it, whatever, I don't care. So yeah, that taught me a lot to be tough, and to just be okay with my choices no matter what people say and talk about.
I think you're definitely unapologetically Erin, for sure. I think that's the best way to describe you. Nikki, did you have anything you wanted to weigh in on the topic of dating and jiu-jitsu?
Sure. Actually, I'm really enjoying this conversation, because it's something that I've thought about a lot and like kind of talked to the girls about, but it's good to get different perspectives. I think I have a little bit of a different perspective, just because I'm not in a relationship, but up until, like when I started training jiu-jitsu, since then I've only dated guys who trained. I haven't really dated anybody outside of this community. But until a couple of years ago, I was living in Indiana, and I haven't really been a big name on the scene, so I haven't been scrutinized maybe as much as the other girls have. And I also tend to be very private with my personal life, so I don't put a lot out there for people to talk about. And I think I've noticed that a lot of people that I train with tend to take that tact too. Like some of them don't, but a lot of them, especially as far as like a relationship and dating, they try to keep it under wraps, and at least for a while, to enjoy it before it like becomes scrutinized by the media. It's an interesting dynamic where we like, we feel like it's our personal thing, and we don't want everybody to be involved in it until we're ready. So I think, I don't know, I never really had an issue with dating until I moved out to California. And it's really interesting, because I think part of it is when I came out, I really I was here to train. I was here to train competitively and like to prove that I belonged. And so I really like made it very clear that that's what I was there for. I wasn't there to sleep around with anybody. And I wasn't really looking for that. And I think that was really good. And then I think kind of what happened was, first of all, I think I train with a lot of really great guys, and they're very respectful, and they treat me like a sister, and I really appreciate that. Like they don't try to go there, they try to like not to shit where they eat kind of thing. We can say that, right? We can say shit. Yeah. So, but, and I appreciate that, but then at the same time, like I spend all my time at the gym, and I don't really go out or go other places or meet other people. So it was a weird dynamic where it's like, I would kind of like to date, but I don't know how to do that, because like I just train all the time. Yeah, so I don't know, it was weird, but I found like as a female black belt, it's harder to date for sure. And there's that pressure of now, like if I do, it's going to be scrutinized, or like, at a certain point you have to just not care what people think. But yeah, it's like, I definitely feel the need to be careful with my life. Whereas before, like I felt like I could do whatever I want and nobody would know or care. And now, like I feel the need to be a lot more careful, just because I don't know who's gonna say what or gossip about me, or like Kristina said, get a reputation. So yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting feeling.
That's
It's
cool.
kind of like funny. Ooh, what? Someone said because you said something that I relate to. You said, what was it? Oh, I'm still dang it. I lost the thought. You said something about, oh yeah, like not knowing how to talk to guys. Yeah, like, so this was a hard thing for me, because it's like, man, like I want to date, but like I don't want to date in jiu-jitsu, because it's like I don't know how to talk to guys. Like okay, we can talk about jiu-jitsu, but then it's kind of like, oh, but I don't want to date within jiu-jitsu because of for whatever reason, right? Then it's many times like, well, that means I have to try and date people outside of jiu-jitsu, and then it's like I don't know how to talk to guys outside of jiu-jitsu. Like, what do we talk about? Like, they're not gonna know what I'm talking about if I'm saying, oh yeah, you know, Barambola to the back, crab ride, you know, like they're like, what are you talking about, right? Like, it's for it. And then like, and one of my friends made a really good point. It's like, how are you going to meet guys outside of jiu-jitsu? You're literally only at the gym. If you're not at the gym, you know, you're lifting weights somewhere, or you're at home, and then like anything else in between is like in your car or teaching at another, or maybe at the groceries, right? Like very rarely am I in public where I can like meet guys, right? So it's just like, I don't know how to talk to guys. I don't know how to talk to them. And then you know, you don't want to talk, like, there's also the thing, like when you meet jiu-jitsu guys, it's like all they do is talk about jiu-jitsu. It's like, I don't want to talk about just jiu-jitsu. And then you talk with guys who aren't in jiu-jitsu, it's like, well, I want to talk about jiu-jitsu. It's like, how do I talk to guys? How do I talk to boys? Like, I don't get, like, it's always higher life. Like, if I could talk to guys for as long as they're like my friends. Like, oh yeah, cool. Did you see that movie? That was so awesome. Yeah, you know, like, again, just being a dude, being a bro, right? But then it's kind of like, well, how do you start romantic relationships when you're just like, yeah, bro, cool, yeah, did you see that? It was so dope, right? Like, always being the little sister, always being being the little sister, like being the little cousin that was just like, hey, I want to tag along with all the other guys. You know, it's like, how do you talk to guys romantically if you like, the whole idea of it just boggles my mind. And I thank God for my boyfriend. He started talking to me first, and he started talking to me about like stupid stuff like anime. I'm like, all right, cool, I'm a nerd. And then he trapped me with the anime, and now we're in this relationship 1 year strong. I don't know how he did it. So somehow he knew how to talk to me.
We've talked about the guys who are like smitten with you guys. What about the guys who really don't want you there? The spazzy white belt who kind of has this ego that he can't be beaten by a woman. How do you deal with those guys, or do you just avoid those guys? The ones that are trying to hurt you out there too?
I avoid them like a plague. The scariest guys on the mat, people on the mat, are big white belts, because they do these unprescribed moves that you didn't expect. Like one time I was actually traveling in London, and there was a guy, he didn't mean to be like mean or anything. And it was closed guard, you know, King of the Hill training. So when I was in a closed guard, he starts grabbing my leg to do like some sort of, you know, like sweep over and a mount. And I was like, okay, my leg doesn't bend that way. My shin was like coming out to the side. And I could have been the guy that was like, hey, my leg doesn't bend that way. Stop it. But I was a higher belt. It was a brown belt at the time. And I didn't want to be that guy. I was at a gym I was visiting. So I just let him sweep me. And so that by that point, it was my ego versus like my leg, the health of my leg. And so I didn't want to be that guy. So then, you know, people are looking at me because I'm a high belt, I'm a female, and I don't talk like this in London. So then they're like, okay, they're watching me. So I walked back to the back of the line after going with a white belt. And I was like, I could either be, oh my God, that's so embarrassing, like a white belt beat me, or I could just be like, who cares? And that's kind of like what I've earned, that ability to be like, who cares? I'm cool either way. And with the guys that are assholes, actually, I got in trouble one time at Marcelo's. There was a guy that I could tell like he was getting annoyed by my guard, right? So having an annoying guard is actually a compliment, because, you know, you think that you're going to pass, and then again, where did that foot come from? So this guy was having a tough time. I think we were both purple belts. And then he went really hard on me, like forced his way to half guard and just like cranked a Kimura. And it didn't need to be like that. He just wanted to win because it was a King of the Hill thing. And I remember Paul Schneider was teaching the class, and I went over to get some water, and I looked at him because he's a friend of mine too. And I go, God, that guy was an asshole. And then like 3 days later, I get called into the office, and Marcelo's like, you can't be calling people assholes. And I was like, Marcelo, I didn't say it to his face. I just like said it. He's like, all you do is don't train with them, because that's what Paul said. Paul was like, well, then don't train with him. And I was like, okay. So I just avoided him. But for the most part, there's ego. And that's not something that comes from being a girl. That comes from, everybody has it. Everybody has to deal with it. And what I hate is people who say, oh yeah, so you have to train with guys this way and girls this way. No, you train different with every single person. I do not go with a white belt and then try really, really hard and submit them the whole time, right? I also don't go with a black belt and try my hardest, or I don't also just go, oh God, you're a black belt. Like you have to train differently with everybody. Either someone who's bigger, and there are guys who are smaller than me. Okay. There were a lot of them at Cobrinas, and I'm very thankful for that because I love training with little guys. And so you have to train different with everybody. So in terms of someone who is trying to beat you because they know that you're good, or they're like, I need to break you. That's when you know it's like psychological and they're just an asshole. And in order to not deal, like they're especially when you're training elite, right? So everybody was training at Cobrinas for Worlds, right? And I remember there's this one guy, and he was gonna pair up with someone. I was like, hey, Lance, can I go with you? And he's like, no, I'm going with her. I'll go with Stephanie. And I was like, I don't know why I have these voices for people, but I was like, I already went with Stephanie. Like, let me go with her. And then he goes, I'm trying to win pans here. And I just screamed at him, and I went, Lance, you're not the only one who wants to win pans. And I just stormed off the mat into like the waiting area of the couch and just sat there and cried. And I was at a temper tantrum. Because so there's a difference between training for like your life, like you want to do well because you've dedicated your life to this and you're broke, and you just want a medal. Like, and then there's, the people who are just hobbyists, like not saying that Lance is a hobbyist, but you got to work together. And so, yeah, assholes are everywhere. They literally come about through miscommunication, I think, but also because they need to be broken. So my favorite thing to do, just in case like anyone is like wondering what to do, my favorite thing is like letting them do things and then complimenting them. You literally give them what they want, and then they basically feel really good about it. You don't lose any of your ego because you know that you're giving it to them, and then everybody wins. So that's my advice.
I think this is something I've actually been thinking about lately because I just wrote an article about it, about like the importance of having your own boundaries, and not just related to like sex and stuff like that, but in jiu-jitsu a lot. And I feel like especially early on, I felt this big need that I needed to roll with everybody, be able to handle anybody when I rolled, and like not say no to people in training. And part of that is that I didn't have a lot of options. And now I'm in this beautiful situation where I can only roll with girls and like very technical, safe guys every day if I want to. And it's wonderful. But one thing that I had to learn for myself, and I kind of learned it the hard way a few times from getting hurt. I remember one time as a purple belt, I was visiting a gym and I was rolling with this big white belt guy, and I was in mount, and he like bucked me really hard in a way that my hand was stuck on the mat and I couldn't move it in time, and it got bent all the way backwards to my forearm. To the point where like this was years ago and I still have a bad wrist that just is never going to work properly again. And I've had a couple of things like that happen. And I think at a certain point I felt almost that like the instructor or the person in charge had a responsibility to take care of me and to make sure that I was safe. And maybe I gave them, like, they do have a responsibility, but I put it too much on them, I think, and put too much on me to like, I should be able to handle this because I'm a higher belt and I'm a strong, independent woman and all this stuff. And anyways, what I've learned through all of that is that I can say no to anybody I want to. And I have before, even like sometimes in the middle of a roll, I feel unsafe with what they're doing. Like Erin said, if they're twerking my leg in a way it's not supposed to go, they're not using technique, and I feel unsafe, I will tap and be like, we need to be done, and just walk away. And dude, that's so empowering to do. And just be like, you know what, this doesn't make me weak. This means I don't feel safe rolling with you. And a lot of times it makes them feel bad. And that's part of it too. Like it's hard to tell somebody they're like being unsafe, because then the reaction that you get is that the guy will go super easy to the point where it's insulting and you're not getting the training, right? So it's like, yeah, I don't want you to spaz out on me, but I also don't want you to just let me win, because that's not helping either of us. So it's hard to like teach somebody how to be a good partner. They kind of will learn. If they're not an asshole, they will learn. If they are, then they probably won't last very long in jiu-jitsu anyways. But yeah, for me, I've learned that it's okay to say no. And I've noticed too, especially at gyms that have girls already, they do a really good job of taking care of each other. At least we do at Atos. I know, like when new girls come in, we let them know, like, hey, don't roll with that guy. He's hurt some of us before. Or hey, that guy's a creeper, so be aware of that. Or like, you know, not that we have a lot of creepers, or like most everybody's great, but we let each other know. And that's really, really nice. And I appreciate that too when I go somewhere else. Like I've had, I remember going, you guys know Rossi Snow in Denver. I remember visiting her gym, and it was like an open mat. And I remember her just saying like, hey, yeah, that's a good partner. Like you could go with them. And it's so nice just to have somebody else that kind of look out for you. And I think as women, we think about that more than maybe the guys do. So I think that's something really important that we have in our community for sure.
I definitely like that too. Like I noticed that I would do that a lot because, you know, again, same thing coming up, I was the only female on the mat. And it was like that for a very, very long time, you know, not having consistent female training partners. I'd say it maybe wasn't until like purple belt where I started actually having like lower belt females coming in to train. And then like, wow, I'm kind of like, I'm gonna say I'm to them, like, man, I kind of have to look out for them. You know, I didn't have anybody really to look out for me other than like, yeah, you just train, you get tough, you'll get better, and then you just suck it up. But then, you know, later on, I was just like, okay, cool. At least I have like some smaller technical guys. It's like, but now I have these other women coming in. I was like, man, I want to make sure that they stick around because I want to make sure that they level up, and then they're going to be good training partners for me. You know, like I think that was also another like weird thing that I noticed coming up, and we could talk about that another time, which is that like somehow feeling the need to be like the top female, right? Or like being the only female there, and then like any other women that tried to come in are just like, no, stay out, right? Because like I worked hard to be here. And I was just like, no, I need to help everybody so that like we can all be good together, right? And so being able to have like, or being able to be that person, be like, oh, okay, so you're new here, or someone's visiting, or you know, you're just starting out, like, okay, these classes are really good to go to because you're gonna have a lot of other women there, a lot of other beginner women. These classes are good because you have a lot of smaller people, like maybe not as many women, but more technical, smaller guys, so you won't get hurt. Like, okay, you can partner with these ones, or even straight up when they're in class, I can say like, I see people who are partner up, like, ooh, yeah, let's have you guys switch, and you guys switch, and that looks a lot better, you know? I have like the tiny little like rooster weight, like white belt, who like, it's like her third class, and she's like partnered with like the ultra heavy guy, like, hey, I guess we're gonna do this now, escape now. Like, oh, okay, so yeah, technique conquers all, but not in 3 days, not yet. You know, like y'all can switch. But with having to deal with like aggressive guys, like, yeah, I am not afraid to tell a person like straight up within the middle of the roll, like, hey, yeah, you can't do that, or like she'll be like, stop using so much strength, or like, I mean, it's almost like trolling sometimes. I'm like, dude, why are you trying so hard? Like, there's no reason for you, you know. And like, the hardest part, or like the laughable one, is like when I'm rolling with these guys, you know, either it's from like a different school or I'm visiting another school and they're going super like ridiculously, like there's no reason why. Like, you are, you know, 40, 50 pounds bigger than me. Like, there's no reason for you to be going as hard as you are going. Like, you know, like, and luckily I have enough technique to keep myself safe, you know, but like, they know that they're doing it. And then like afterwards, like, yeah, so, how was that? You know, like you're really gonna ask me, because you're not gonna like what I'm gonna say to you, because I'm really gonna say to you, like, you didn't do anything, you know, like, you're using so much strength, like, look how hard you're breathing, and look how I'm breathing fine. Why are you huffing and puffing to try and force this position that's not even there? Like, and it got you nowhere. and it's like, and I have no shame for doing this. Like, I don't care. Like, Like, if you think that it's okay for you to, like, again, that's cool. I'm a black belt. You know, you don't want to just lay over and die, but at the same time, there is a balance. And like, and it doesn't mean that you get to go like balls to the wall, like however way you want with me. Like, you still have to use, like, you have to temper yourself. You have to regulate yourself. And if you don't, I swear to God, I will cut you with my words afterwards, because I don't appreciate that, you know? Like, hey, I'm just trying to have like a fun flow roll where, you know, like we're all, you know, we all have different, you know, things to get ready for, but like don't hurt me. Because if I can't hurt you back, I will find somebody who will, which I've had to do that, you know, many times. You know, has Yuri Samoa's been the mat enforcer, be like, oh, that guy was being mean to me, or that guy was rolling like a jerk, and they're like, you know, like, so you don't mess with the females in class. You're like, you shouldn't do it. Like, don't do it, because there's gonna be a whole horde of black belts or upper belts who are gonna be like, who's the guy, right? Like, they're gonna come in, and like, luckily, usually I don't have to do that, but like, it's nice knowing that I do have teammates who can do that for me. And then like, and then I will say too, like, I mean, does it make me a bad person that I like to put, like, you know, guys in their place sometimes when they're acting a fool, you know? Like, is it bad? Because sometimes I feel really good about it. Like, I used to be the female mat enforcer, which would be like, you have guys coming in with egos out like through the roof, and like, yeah, I don't need to go to the beginners class. I think I'm ready for the advanced class. I'm ready to compete. And like, dude, like, who the heck are you? And, you know, then you get like the word from front desk be like, hey, yeah, that guy thinks he's gonna be a UFC fighter. You should go with him. I'm like, all right, say no more, fam. You know, and and then you put them in their place, you know, and it usually goes like one of two ways. Either they're like, this jiu-jitsu stuff is dumb, and then they don't ever come back, which is fine, because you don't want anyone with a bad attitude anyways. Or they're like, oh, so you're saying I have to use technique, I can't just use my strength. And then they get it, right? They like wake up, and then their ego is gone, and then they actually learn jiu-jitsu, and then they become really, really good training partners, you know? So I feel like there is a balance. Like, yes, definitely say no. Like, I tell my teammates and my female students all the time, like, if you don't feel comfortable, say no. You know, like, you don't have to feel bad about it. Like, just say like, hey, you know, like, I'd really prefer going someone, you know, like my size or whatever, you know, like, don't feel bad about it. And yeah, don't feel pressure to do it. Cause I definitely, you know, there used to be times where I felt pressured that, oh, I need to train with everybody. And then after a while, like, having all these injuries, like, nah, I need to be select.
I think it's important.
You have to be,
in the sport too.
Yeah, like, no one knows what your limits are except for you, and no one's going to protect you except for you. So if you don't lay down like, hey, like, I don't want to get hurt, or like, I'm not saying that you are going to hurt me, but I'm saying like, I don't like this situation right now, and so I'd rather just, you know, sit out, you know. And if the person gets offended by them, that's not your fault, that's theirs. Because
Marcelo,
yeah,
at Marcelo's school, he would literally walk over to a pair if he could tell that either a girl was struggling or a Jew was just kind of going too hard. He'd be like, no. All right, let's switch this. Like, he would literally, like, they would be in the middle of a roll, and he'd be like, just stop.
Good. I've been seeing a lot here lately on social media where we're talking about hair, how you keep your hair. I think Kristina mentioned it earlier, you know, how does somebody keep their hair up? I know for me, my skin has looked like a damn pizza. I'm going to be rocking the cul-de-sac here in a minute if I don't get my hair regimen up. Do you guys have tips, or what do you guys do to keep your skin clear or your hair healthy? I mean, jiu-jitsu is just hard anyway.
I embrace it. I've spent so much time. So basically, I remember I got in a little bit of argument with Paul Schreiner, because everything, when you're not training, you have to tie your belt, right? That's just like, that's the rule. If you're sitting out, you have to at least be presentable, right? You can't just be like, you know. And I remember it was in between rolls, and I was finding a partner, and my gi was undone, and I was tying my hair up. And he was like, Erin, the gi, you should do the gi first, then your hair. And I was like, no. I do my hair, it gets up out of the way, and then I tie my gi. And guys just don't understand that. So there were two ways that I would do things. So this has been my hairstyle now for like a year or more, because it's on top of my head, and for the most part, and then we always have those breakages, right? So that's always going to happen. There were plenty of times where I would do my knee slice, and I put my knee slice, my head next to the person's head. And then if the person goes to shrimp out, or if I go to move, the wispy things that I no longer have, get ripped out. So I don't have a lot of hair because I'm blonde, and it's just, that's what it is. But when I am training, I always used to do a ponytail, because a ponytail would be less of a knot. But all the time I'd be in like reverse de la Riva or something, and their knee would go down on my ponytail, and I'd pull, and it would just rip out. And that was a common occurrence. And then if I put it in a bun, I wouldn't put it in a bun like this because it would get all knotted. So I would just do the bun where you're kind of like this. And then afterwards, it would be so knotted, I would have to have people help me get the hair tie out, okay? I do not have the wherewithal to braid my hair before training. For the girls that can sit there and braid their hair all perfect before training, like, kudos to you. But when I'm training twice a day, I don't care. I don't want to have to deal with clips, because in tournaments, you're not allowed to wear clips. So I don't want to get used to them. I have tried, headbands. When I was a white belt, I bought a do-rag from 7-Eleven, and I put it on, and I looked way too much like a man, and I just couldn't do it. I know that Claudia Gadelia trains, so when she spars, she has like almost like a swim cap thing. It's like a lycra thing. I'm not really sure exactly where it comes from, but she looks ridiculous, and she doesn't care. So I thought that was admirable. There comes a point where you don't care, right? When I teach spider guard, people at seminars are like, when does it not hurt anymore? And I'm like, that's the thing. Like, you have to let it hurt so you can build stronger grips. That's just a part of it. So I get acne all the time. And when I train, it gets worse. Now that I train striking, we actually do a lot of like zone defense, where we put our hand on the person's forehead. And all I'm thinking is like, more pimples, more dirt, more acne. Like, yep, just lay it on, just lay it on. I had more here because, holding the gloves, right? You can only keep them so clean. So fighting it is one thing, and just embracing it is another. So like, especially like quarantine, for example, like I put on a tiny bit of makeup today, just because I looked really tired. But I normally I don't wear makeup anymore. And if I go to the store and my nose is bright red, or, my hair's like up and it's wet from a shower, I stopped caring. And that was a huge thing for me. And also, so one time, Hamalo, I trained with Hamalo Bahal in the beginning, and he comes in and he got a haircut and he looked so good. And we're all like, ooh, Playboy, you look so good. And I was like, Hamalo, if your hair looks so good short, why would you ever grow it out? Like, why would you let it get that way? And he says, I wouldn't look so good if I didn't have my hair long. Like, the comparison, like, I forget how he worded it. It was very like simple, but he was like, you wouldn't see that it looks so good without seeing when it doesn't look good. So there are times when I would come into the gym and I brushed my hair, or like I had it down, because I never have it down. Even my boyfriend's like, you never wear it down. Like, yeah, because it gets in my way. But they're like, did you get your hair done? Did you change something? And I was like, brushed my hair. So for me, putting it in a bun or like braiding it, cool. There's girls that braid it in the front. There's girls that braid multiple braids and put it up. Yeah, or just shave your head. I thought about it. I don't have the face though.
I've tried a lot of different things. And like, I've done the bun thing, and I've done like, doing little French braids on the side, and I played with a bunch of different things. And yeah, if you can like take the time to put braids in your hair and do fancy stuff, that's great. But I don't. Like, I basically do a tight ponytail, and then I braid that, and that's generally what my hairstyle is. And it works for the most part. Like, it will come out and I'll have to redo it, but at least the braid will keep it from like getting ripped out. Even if it gets caught, it's like such a thick strand that it kind of keeps it safe, and it keeps your hair from getting like tangled up too. The braid will keep it all nice. And I found if I put it up when it's wet too, it stays a lot better than if it's dry. Like, once you get sweaty and you put your hair back up, it stays a lot better. So, but yeah, like I don't know, my hair is also pretty low maintenance, so I'm lucky for that. Like, it's thin, but yeah, and I don't really do anything for my skin. I have gotten a lot of black eyes, and that sucks. Like, I feel like once I got one good one, it's so much easier now to get them. And I had one for like a month, last year during the ADCC camp, and I felt super self-conscious because I had a friend who wanted to take professional photos of me, and I was trying to cover it up with makeup, and you just can't completely do that. So I just kind of had to deal with that. But I don't really have a professional job I need to go to where I have to look super nice. So
yeah, I've been through definitely a lot of different evolutions of what I've had to do with my hair, because my hair is very, very long. I haven't cut my hair in 4 years, so over 4 years, and I donate my hair actually, so it's
Awesome.
I should be getting close to having to donate it soon, maybe next year. I mean, I'll maybe keep growing it because now it's actually healthy hairs growing out of my head now. It's not getting ripped out all the time. I was like, oh my God, all these little hairs are growing back because I'm not, digging my head into people passing all the time now, or like it's not getting smashed into the mat. So I'm really low maintenance. I maybe wash my hair once a week. I don't do anything to it. I have the privilege of having good skin and good thick straight Asian hair, which holds up to like everything, and it just holds
Very
up.
lucky.
I will say though that my skin, like for the most part, my skin is usually really, really clear and really nice. I can have like smaller breakouts every now and then, especially if my diet is really bad. But when I'm drinking lots of water, that's the time that my skin is the clearest, and it looks really, really good. And I start aging backwards even more so. Asian don't raisin, don't hate. And so, yeah, I don't really have like a skincare routine, although I will do like every now and then I'll treat myself, right? You do like little face masks. I'm like, ooh, I saw this little ad, and it's like self-care stuff that like, it's not more to like make my skin look a certain way, but it just feels nice to do it. So typically what I do with my hair now, so before it used to just be a ponytail, then it got too long, then it was ponytail with a braid, with a long braid, but then the long braid got really, really long, and it was like a snake everywhere, and then that would start getting stuck underneath me. Like I'd be like trying to invert, and like, oh God, I'm stuck. So then we started doing what I do now, which is I think I have enough for it, which is I get like a high pony. Yep, you can show the process. High pony. And then we put that into a high ponytail, which looks nice, especially like when I'm sweating, because then it sticks really, really well. And then you have the other one. And if I have one or two, we can just retwist. Then we wrap. Then we tie once. Wrap again. Put the rest of the knot in, and there it is. And so this is mainly how I'll train. And then what will happen, like as I train, it'll come out more and more and more, and it'll be all over the place. And the great thing is, since it is a ponytail, I can find where the origin is, and I'll just like grab it, pull it, make it tighter, and it'll get like messed up like that again or something, and it'll be like off to the side, be like this, and be like, all right, that's fine. Okay, we'll just find the edge, you pull, all right, it's tight to the head again, all right, we're good to go. And then by the end of the training, it's like something like this, and I'm like, it's cool, it's fine, it's out of the way, and then it was like, oh, take a picture, and I'm like, oh, hey, wait, and then I just have to like find the knot, and then, oh, there it is, and I fiddle around with it for a little bit, and then like it's, for the most part, it's usually okay. And then it's like this thing, and then they're like, oh yeah, it was good training, and then you pull it out. And then there's the sweat in there, so then you take it out, and they're like, oh my God, your hair looks amazing, what do you do for it? I'm like, I sweat. I sweat, and I do jiu-jitsu, like style by jiu-jitsu, and then it'll just be like that.
That's awesome. What about like periods? I don't really have to worry about periods very often. I get them maybe every 2 months or so, and they're very light. Do you guys do anything different when you're on your cycle or PMS?
I'm currently on birth control, which is nice. I have the IUD, so it makes my periods super, super light, and maybe they come in like every 6 weeks or something like that. Or sometimes, I don't know, sometimes it's a surprise when I have them. I'm like, oh, hey, look, it's period. Whoa, wow. And so I've always made it a habit, which is funny. My professor, Kyle, his wife Jamie. Our first time meeting was back when I still just did Muay Thai and she did Muay Thai too. And she needed a pad, and she was like, oh my god, like would you happen to have a pad? And I'm like, yeah, you know, I always had like my little emergency kit. I always do, which I don't need it so much anymore now, because I use a cup. The cup is great because now I don't have to spend money on tampons or pads or liners. I just put that thing in. I don't have to worry about anything leaking and then clean out. So that's great. But I always have like extra. And so like, I just remember that was like, I gave her, that was our first time. He was like, here, take this pad. And she's like, oh my God, thank you. And then, now we flash forward and, it's my professor's wife, and she's one of my really good friends. And she's like, hey, you remember that time we met in San Francisco and you lent me a pad? I'm like, yeah, like you're cool. I'm like, yeah. So I feel like you should always have an emergency kit if you can. I mean, like, with modern technology or modern times, like they've made tampons and pads and liners smaller and smaller and smaller, so you can like compact them pretty much anywhere. I have backpacks with like little tiny pockets, and I can just jam them with there.
How did the
so I
cup
don't have to
work? Like, how long can you use the cup before you got to replace it? Or
you can switch it up. I think it's every 12 hours that you can, so it's up to 12 hours. And or if you want to switch it out, depending on how your flow is, right? So if it's heavier, you definitely would want to empty it out sooner, like maybe 8 hours or 4 or 6. But it's really really simple. Like, so, I don't know how we can do this. So here's your vagina, and I do. I'd have to go to the other room to get it. I could grab it. But here's the vagina, and here's the cup, and you like fold it, and then you insert it, and then you have to like pull it, and then it opens like that, so it's a suction. So then there's the suction, and then everything just kind of gets held in that cup. So it's just in there. So you can roll it around however.
Do you know for sure, like, oh, it's in the right position? Like, you just know?
You take some practice to know like when it's in and when it's in. So when you first start doing it, you might want to use a liner, but for the most part, it's like, again, you have to fold it, and then you insert, and then you have to like turn it a little bit, and then it'll like open. And then it opens, and then it's like a little chalice that just grabs all the blood in there. When you're berimboloing and taking people's back, it just stays in there. It doesn't, and then when you're done, you just go to the bathroom, you just pull it out, and you just pour it out, and you can clean it, and then you just fold it and stick it back up there again, and it's awfully convenient.
Wonderful.
But it takes some practice to get used to. But before I start using the cup, yeah, I would always make sure, like, okay, have to wear black gi, make sure to wear the black underwear, and just in case, black shorts underneath that, just black on black on black, just in case. You don't wear white. You just don't. You just don't. It didn't happen to me, but it happened to my competitor, and it was just like, oh, I don't, I felt so bad, like she started her period in the middle of our match, and she had a white gi, and everybody saw, and I'm like, oh my God, no. And then in the back of my head, I was just like, never, no white gis, no.
I'm brave when it comes to the white gi thing. I will wear a white gi because one, Korea changed actually. So when I was still training there, he had changed it so you couldn't wear black gis in class. And one time it actually did happen where I bled through, and I was standing there. We were doing groups. We had different groups, and it was like, you train. And so I had the girls literally like watching my back because everyone else was doing their own thing. And they're like, hey, Erin, you want to go fix that? So then I was like, all right, I'm against the wall, and I've got to like pass by another group of guys to go to the locker room. And, everything kind of stopped because I was like, all right, well, I got to get over there. And then they're like, yeah, how are you going to do it? And I'm like, well, if I walk with my hands behind my butt, like they're obviously going to be like, what is she covering? Or you can just like saunter over. So Korea, I remember we had like a farting problem. There was a guy visiting, and there was like, he kept on farting, and we were doing these, it was like during a camp, so a lot of people. So he was like directly behind the dude. So he actually stopped everyone, and he was like, listen guys, if you got to go to the bathroom, just go. Like, just go. Cause like I went to have this best friend who her mom, who was really weird. She was convinced that her mom did too much LSD when she was younger, but she was like, "Hey, Erin, you know what a fart is? It's when the poop's like, oh, I'm coming," something like that, something really awful. And so, that's kind of like what he was insinuating. Like, dude, if you gotta go, you gotta go. So here I'm thinking, oh my God, he doesn't have any girls, like any daughters or anything. Like, what is he gonna do? So he comes over and he's more concerned that we're not training anymore. And he's like, dude, what's going on over here? And I was like, I'm leaking. And he was so casual about it. He's like, okay, so just go to the bathroom and change. I didn't have anything to change into, so like my training was done for the day. But generally, like, people are okay with that. And I think that we're all scared of that. But honestly, if you wear, like for me, if I wear white geese for too long, I stain in the armpits and the crotch anyways from sweating. It eventually turns yellow and stuff. But again, that whole like, well, it happens to all of us. So for the most part, I just wear tampons and I just kind of go, all right, if it happens, it happens. And that's it. But also I remember 2016 Nogi Worlds, I had one Nogi Worlds in 2015. And so I was like, 2016, still a brown belt, I'm going to kick ass. And I was cutting weight and I was actually with Kristina and I'd stay with her because that was the time that it was up in, I think, San Jose area. So I'd stay with her and we were cutting weight and I was actually doing fine. Like, we went in the sauna, I cut weight, everything. And then I go to the bathroom right before I went to go check my weight to have my match. And I started my period. And I remember, like, it's the mental thing too, where it's like, oh no, my body is doing something. It's busy. And for whatever reason, I think that also it slows you down. So I remember in my match, I just stayed in double guard for a while. And I was like, no, I'm going to get this foot lock. I'm going to get this foot lock. And so I waited there forever. Like, who cares? Yeah, I got all the time in the world. So then after I came up, whatever. So I lost. I remember I lost. And I remember when Mike Columbus had taken a picture of me and I looked at the picture after, not only did every picture have my boobs like this, because that's what happens to me in Nogi, because I'm like, I'm ready, I'm excited, a lot of adrenaline. So that's just like automatically annoying. But there was a foot lock attempt where I was doing it wrong. So like, I know toe holds, okay? The first brown belt match I ever did at Nogi Pans, I got a toe hold. Like, I get it. I know what I'm doing. But I was just like it was so wrong and Mike had caught it. So yeah, I think that it definitely, with like, obviously it makes you tired. It makes you kind of like fat and whatever, but also it makes you slow and you don't notice until after. So there is like that thing, when guys have hard-ons and all their blood goes to their dick. I think it's very similar for females, that we just start losing blood and we just get slow and whatever. That's my theory. I'm allowed to say dick, right?
We're running out of iron. We're running out of vitamin D. Oh my God! Quick! Put it back! Put it back!
Oh my gosh, this is gold right here.
I
This is gold.
I don't have too many issues with my period. Like, I just train normally. Usually the first day or two is the worst, and then it eases up after that. So I'm just careful. Like, I wear tampons. I've thought about the cup. Actually, I really want to try it and just see how I like it. I know
that demo help.
Heather After has talked a lot about it too. But yeah, like, so at Autos we have a wifey only policy. So that's rough, man. And but so I I make sure that I change my tampon right before training. I wear spats underneath just in case. I have leaked before, and just told the instructor, hey, can I go change my pants? He was just like, yeah, go for it. I don't get embarrassed about it anymore. Like, I worry more about making my training partners uncomfortable than anything else. But for me, it's like, well, you just bled all over my gi from your fingernails, so like, what's the difference? But yeah, so I don't know. I think it affects me more emotionally than anything else. Like, definitely sometimes I'll have a day at training where I just want to cry for no reason. And like, this wasn't even a tough day. I don't know what's happening. And then the next day I started, I'm like, okay, it was legitimized, I'm not just completely crazy. Or maybe I am, I don't know. But yeah, I think it definitely, sometimes actually the training will help the cramps and the physical symptoms for me, just because I'm getting like endorphins and I'm I'm working out and moving my body. But it does, like, I've noticed sometimes I've had competitions before where I started and I didn't notice it at all when I was competing because the adrenaline and everything. And then after my match, I went and I had to lay down and like could literally feel everything just rushing downwards. I was like, oh no. So yeah, it's something we have to deal with if the guys don't. But you also have that trump card too. Like if you are on your period and they like try to give you any kind of flack for, you know, chaining your pants or whatever, you just be like, on my period, and they shut up really fast. So
Yeah, they do. So one thing we wanted to discuss, because we are women, how do we maintain our femininity? I know some of us aren't really feminine. I tend to be a little more aggro anyway. But for women who are ladies, like the makeup, want to get their hair done, how do they still maintain that? I think they probably can. What do you guys think about that?
I think for me, jiu-jitsu made me want to be more feminine. Because before I had jiu-jitsu, and I know, I know I've heard Erin talk about this a little bit, but I think, you know, I did feel this need that I wanted to be tough and I wanted to be like respected for that. And so after I started training jiu-jitsu for a while, I knew I was tough. I knew I could like choke these people out, and I wanted to be more girly because I was so like sweaty and gross a lot of the time, that it feels really nice to like do your makeup and do your hair and be a girl sometimes too. And I think especially training with a group of girls, you see that too. Like even Angelica, if you notice in every picture, her hair is always perfect. And like she, every time they say we're gonna take a picture, she immediately starts taking her hair down and like putting it to the side. But that's kind of nice too to see, because it's like, okay, I can do that too. And it's not like super vain to want to look nice in the picture, to want to feel girly after training, you know. So yeah, I think for me, I definitely noticed that it gave me more of a desire to dress up and look really cute sometimes.
I know for me, same thing. Like it took for martial arts to come into my life for me to actually embrace my femininity. Like growing up, I think for me, like all of the examples that I had for me that were like being feminine was all equated to like being hit, being fragile, being weak. And, you know, being a very small, skinny little Asian girl, like who got picked on, it was like, oh, well, I don't want to be that, you know? So I, again, always have to prove that I'm tough. I'm big, I'm strong. Look, I lift weights. Look, I eat all my food. Look, I can do anything that everybody else can do. You know, it's like, no, I'm not going to wear dresses because that's what princesses do who need to be saved, right? And then someone has to come and save them. I'm like, I'm gonna be the knight in shining armor. I'm gonna be Prince Charming, you know, like that's the image I had in my head because I didn't have too many like strong female influences that showed the duality that you can have both, right? For me, it was just like you're either weak and feminine or you're masculine and you're strong. Like there's no in between, right? And then martial arts came into my life, and again, I finally meet other women who were like, yeah, we're badass, you know, we're gonna like punch and kick each other, but you know, we also want to wear makeup and look cute, you know. And I'm like, you're like, you can do that, you know, like it never occurred to me that I could do both, like, you know. And so I started becoming a little bit more open to it, a little bit more, you know. But it really took for having the strong bonds that I have in jiu-jitsu with like other women where it's just like, oh, I think I'm gonna paint my nails now, you know, and I don't have to apologize for it. I remember like the first time I started like trying to like paint my nails, and a guy would be like, did you paint your nails? I'm like, yeah, but it was just because I was bored, you know. I'd get so like defensive, like, I was just bored, you know. It's like nothing. It's not like I like it or anything, you know. I couldn't own it. And then I started, you know, meeting other girls who were like, oh yeah, I got my nails done, you know. And I'm like, you did? I'm like, yeah, it's gonna get messed up in training though, but it's cute for now. And I'm like, wow, so I can like it and I don't have to say I don't like it. You know, it was like it was like this big, like, you know, they had this this trope in anime, which is called tsundere, which is like you're hot and cold, right? Like I hate you. It's like, but I mean, I wouldn't be opposed if you were like my friend, but I hate you, you know, like one of those things, right? And that was the relationship I had with my femininity. And, you know, then you start meeting like really cool, badass, like beautiful women in jiu-jitsu, and they're like embracing it. I'm like, I could do that. I can do that, you know, like. And so after a while, I stopped apologizing, or stopped explaining like why I was wearing a dress. Like I could literally just wear a dress and it didn't have to be, oh, I had to go to a special occasion, or oh yeah, this I had to wear it. I'd be like, no, I felt like wearing it today. And I think that's what's important. Like just because you're doing a sport that is messy and like you're gonna look like a wreck, it doesn't mean that you have to deny the fact that you like you can embrace that, but you can also embrace like, oh yeah, I washed my hair, it's cute, I got this cute outfit, and yeah, like I'm not above, like, yes, I can protect myself, but if the guy wants to be chivalrous and be like, hey, let me open this door for you, I'm not gonna be like, oh my God, how dare you? I can open that door for myself, I feel like like knowing that I am strong has allowed me to be like, also being able to embrace that, like I can be delicate, I can cry when I watch a Disney movie, and or I can cry when I break a nail because it hurts, it freaking hurts, and I can want to wear a dress, and even if I'm wearing a dress and wearing makeup, I can still choke you too. Like I can do it all. You can do it all. That's what jiu-jitsu is.
I think we saw it in the Don't Rush Challenge. I think you guys were first, Kristina, and then everybody was posting them because I think we were so excited to just be feminine. Everybody wanted to get their makeup on. Like I don't always look like Shrek. I got makeup on. I got a dress. And so I saw that women wanted to be something other than the mat girl.
I feel like with sorry, keep going, Kristina.
Oh, I was just saying, like, real quick, just because, like, there's a bunch, like, you go through the comments, and people are like, where are they going? Where are they going dressed up like that? Who are they trying to press? And I'm like, bitch, I'm doing this for myself. Oh, sorry, expletive. Yeah, like, and that was the thing, too. Like, I thought that, like, if I was getting dressed up nice, that meant I was doing it for somebody else. Like, it was always for somebody else. I'm like, no, this is for me. Because, like, I want to see me dressed up. I want to see me with, like, nice hair and nice nails and a cute outfit. Like I want to like look at myself in the mirror and be like, damn, I'm hot. And like and it's cool, like if I can have my other girlfriends be like, yeah, you're hot, like, oh my God, yes girl, yes, and I'm like, and then we're all just hyping each other up, and it just feels really, really good. Like it feels awesome to be hyped up by my female friends.
Kristina,
like,
you hype me up. You hype me up, definitely. So we basically, I don't like to train like for that last like week or whatever before a tournament and stuff. And a lot of the times we together will be at a tournament, whether it's like World or sharing a hotel or whatever it is. So we'll go get our nails done. And I don't really like having my nails done. And if they're chipped, I don't mind. But I just kind of started doing it for health reasons. But then they're like, it'll stay longer if you get the gel. And I'm like, yeah, but that's like $10 more. And I already feel like I'm spending too much on vanity anyways. I'd rather buy food. So with that, it's like, okay, well, as a kid, I was always manly. And not manly because I was a kid, right? I guess I was like more like a dude. I always thought like dick and fart jokes were hilarious, still do. And I didn't really hang out with the guys because I liked them, but I definitely was more manly. Like I've always been bigger up top. Like I have big arms, big legs. So even when I was in private school, I never wore the jumper. I always wore the pants and the polo. That was just me. And I was in Girl Scouts, but like I never identified with female things. And so when I was in high school, I was kind of like, I didn't really have a thing. I wasn't an athlete. I wasn't like, I was in the honors classes, but I wasn't necessarily like a nerd because I got like B's and whatever. Like I didn't know where I belonged. I hung out with a lot of meth addicts, actually. I didn't do drugs at all. I was actually into hardcore music and I was straight edge, but I just thought that they were really fun. So when Heather was on house arrest, we just had everyone come to her house. It was cool. But when I decided to like kind of be girly, I realized there was a lot of power in it. There's a lot, and I made an Instagram post on this recently. There's a lot of power in being feminine, okay? Like doing this, like gets me places. Wearing skin tight clothes gets me different things, like different attention. So I played with that. I used to wear the shortest shorts ever, like little skirts and stuff to school. I had in 9th grade, I had the same science teacher as my sister did, who was a senior. It was Mr. Manassian. He actually went to my sister and was like, dude, you got to tell her like to stop wearing that stuff. And then I actually had my parents tell me I couldn't wear the certain skirts I was wearing anymore because they were attracting too much attention and making them look bad. So then I was like, all right, so using my femininity like is not a good thing. Like if you don't know how to like, I guess I was asking for power that I didn't want. I actually walked home every day and walked to school, and not that I was like on the days that I was wearing anything like slutty, but I would have men stop and be like, hey, do you need a ride? And I remember being so upset one time, and I came home, my dad was here, and he was like, why are you so mad? And I was like, you don't get it. Like, it made me feel like I was, I don't know, like I was a hooker or something. Like I didn't like it at all. And I think that partly changed. So I was always like, okay, well, I'm like this manly kind of build, and I like hanging out with the dudes. So I found jiu-jitsu. So I was able to embrace that. Then I was able to go to be the feminine part of me. But you go into Forever 21 and you're small around here, but like here you're a medium. So that's very difficult. That's why I get stretchy clothes. So above all, I am comfortable. I will not wear things that literally like I can't stand to be in more than an hour. And so that's kind of helped me. And I've learned to actually create a new style called comfy chic. I started wearing sweatpants out, and I just made do with them. Like guys can wear gray sweatpants and it's super hot. Well, so can I. So kind of embracing that. Like I used to wear dresses and stuff, and now it's more like, well, I like sitting like this all the time, and that just became not okay. So I have kind of like evened out where I can sit like this and still be cute and still be female and feminine. Because
that's why I
just
love leggings. Leggings are I'm so glad they became fashionable, because you can sit however you want. You could still wear a dress and still be super cute, but like you can, have my leg up to wherever and flexible time. Yeah. Anyways, leggings are amazing.
Yeah. And so when I was able to, so you kind of figure out what works for you. I'm not comfortable with certain parts of my body. I tend to hold weight, my stomach. I don't like crop tops. I don't have a cute stomach. There's so many girls, like, I swear, if my belly button was just stretched a little bit this way, I would look a lot thinner than I am. So actually, I always gauge how fat I am by sticking my finger in my belly button and seeing how far it goes. And then that's how I gauge like how far away I am from competition weight. High-waisted is a blessing. Also, if you go to Forever 21, they have biker shorts for $3.90. I'm currently wearing them. I wear them all the time, and they make my butt look great. And they're high-waisted. So yeah, I think being feminine, like I'm not into makeup too much. I don't know how to apply contouring or anything like that. And then I did a photo shoot last year during the summer with Blanca Garcia. And I found that like I could be femininely me, and there are, okay, I'm just going to say it. There are so many Brazilian girls that have way more followers than I do because they post a lot in bikinis, and like cute sports bras, and like they wear makeup and like, and so sometimes I kind of want that attention. And sometimes I realize that it kind of takes away my prestige, I guess, of being an elite athlete. So yeah, it's finding that balance. Like I don't want to look like the girl who's like, look at me. But at the same time, I want people to be like, yeah, what she got going in there? It's really cool. But I want both. So it's not the fact that like I can't be this girl. It's the fact that I don't want to. So that's the whole part. Like I still want to maintain like I'm a professional. I'm smart, and like Kristina was saying, like it's very hard to be feminine and that sometimes at the same time. So my solution is jumpsuits and rompers.
Sweatpants chic.
Yeah. Be cute. Like I feel like I can make anything look super feminine. Like I could be wearing like my cutest like sweats, whatever, but like put a crop top on it. Or like I'm like, all right, I'm a tomboy, but now I'm cute tomboy, right? Or like I'll just put my hair back this way and like have my beanie just like this, stylish, and like, okay, is this it? Is this the look? I don't know. And I feel like that's what I struggle with the most too, was like I dressed like, when I did try to wear like women's clothing or like, you know, female clothing or dress up girlier when I was at a younger age, since I didn't have a strong female group of friends or like a lot of like strong like feedback of like what you wear, this is fashion, this is that, or whatever. Like I just wore whatever I saw on TV, right? Music videos and TV, and like of course all of it was scandalous, right? Like because it's media, it's pop culture, right? So my shorts were too short and my tops were too tight, like everything was just too small because there was no gauge, right? Like there was no gauge for me, like what's normal, what's not normal. I'm like, well, all the popular people are wearing that on TV, so I'm guessing that's what I should wear. And it wasn't that I was trying to look for attention in a certain way, but like those were what my examples were. And I got like a lot of negative feedback from it. It's just like, okay, I guess I really don't want to dress this way, right? And then again, so it wasn't until being able to meet other women and seeing like examples of what you could be like, man, you could be cute and dress feminine and you could be sexy without having to be be the object of someone's sexual desire, right? Like you could be sexy, but that could be a feeling that you have inside that you feel good about yourself. And I had such a hard time embracing that. And then again, so I'm thankful for the jiu-jitsu, like women's jiu-jitsu community versus like, wow, there's a lot of women here where like they embrace it. I'm like, all right, I can do that too. You know, like, oh wow, like I didn't really think I could pull off an outfit like that. And you know, and Erin's been on many shopping times where just like I hate shopping by myself. It's like if you want to give me a panic attack, set me to the mall and tell me to go shopping, and I'll be like, I don't know to do. You know, someone will be like, can I help you? I'm like, no, I'm good. You know, and like I desperately need help. Like I need to know, where are the shorts? I don't know where the shorts are. I can't find them in the store, but it's like I'm falling apart. But then I have like Erin with me. And then she'll be like, try this, what about this? And I'm like, okay. Or I'll be like, do you think this will be okay? She's like, try it on. I'm like, just try it on. I'm like,
just try it on from Spanglish. Your thing is always, does this look good? And I'm like, hell yeah. For me, I'm like, all right, how much of a dude do I look? Like, how manly do I look? I think you've heard me say that, like, this is cute, right? But like how manly is it? Also, I will say that worlds especially, but the big tournaments, that's when we want to look cute, but we also want to look like a badass. So we have our competition day, right? But then we have the balance of having to wear sponsors clothing, but also wanting to look cute. So mostly it's a t-shirt, right? So with Hyperfly, I have to wear like a t-shirt. They've actually gotten better with like looking cute with crop tops and stuff, or like sweats, but you want to look super feminine, but you also have to like wear that. And like, I know Kristina with Control, and I think Nikki, what's yours? I know that Just Roll.
Yeah, I used to be Just Roll, and like Roll Dogs is my gi sponsor, and I don't have as strict requirements about like what I have to wear, but yeah, I understand the same thing for sure. I definitely like tied up my t-shirts to like show a little bit of belly, or like played with different
You're like,
I look at what other girls do, and I'm like, how's she do? Oh, okay, I like that. Yeah, let me try that. Let me see what that looks like. Does this look like I'm trying to get attention right now? I just want to look cute. I don't know.
Yeah, do they see me as like a serious competitor, or do they just want to do me? I don't know. Is both okay? Like,
yeah, I be like, oh, I have to wear a sponsor shirt. Just have to wear a t-shirt and regular pants. And then I see like Mackenzie or like Bia, and they're like wearing like this really cute top. I'm like, I want to do that too. And then like, well, you can. I'm like, I can. Like, and now I have girlfriends that I can actually do it with. So I'll be like, Erin, let's just be cute today. And be like, okay.
Yep.
It's nice. No, I don't have
Oh,
to be alone.
it's been so much fun here today. I've really enjoyed letting my hair down with you guys.
I'm like, she's losing that towel over there.
Down. Not done by jiu-jitsu, since no training's going on. But it was a pleasure having you guys on. It was so much fun. And I really look forward to doing it again. Thank you all for being on here today. Thank you for sharing your viewpoints, your stories, your inspiration, your advice. It's such a pleasure working with you, and Sharika, you too. I know it's a lot of fun doing this project, and we're getting better and better every time.
Yeah.
Thank you for
You guys
having
want
me.
to sign off on anything? Feel free.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, I'm just glad we had this. Yeah, I never thought I could have so much fun talking about my period.
Thank you for the tutorial. I will be looking into the cup now. I'm actually
Should
getting an
post
IUD
that.
in 2 weeks, so woohoo.
Yeah, it's like vagina.
Wow.
Sorry.
You can cut that out. It's okay.
Yeah, we're cutting this all out. This is all getting cut out.
We understand.
But that's a real locker room talk. I swear to God, we talk about periods and then we'll talk about like boobs. Like I'd be like, what bra is that? And then I'm like, touch the
Dom's
boobs.
boobs and was like, they're so big. Can I just feel them?
Yeah, anytime you see me hanging out with Erin, this is me. And it's like, oh my God, Erin, your butt is so like.
That's how she says hi. She puts her hand and cups my butt.
This is me fluffing Erin's butt. I'm like the president of Erin Herle's butt. Yeah, the Erin Herle Fun Club president.
Awesome. Well, have a good day, you guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and thank you so much.
Guys.
Bye, guys.